Maria Torres-Springer says she's taking over the job of the city's first deputy mayor at what she calls a complicated time. But the Yale and Harvard grad says she's up to the task. So, you've said it's complicated. What's your first priority?
My first priority is to make sure that we continue to be super focused on the work. So what does that mean for me, Marcia? It means that we continue to deliver quality services to New Yorkers. We keep advancing the major initiatives of this administration, and that we care for and support the people, the 300,000 public servants who wake up in the morning and work tirelessly to improve the lives of New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs.
So you want them to know that business as usual continues and that they have to give their all.
This is exactly true, and you know what has been heartening and encouraging and humbling is that they wake up in the morning already giving their all. And I've seen that. This has been my life's work. I've worked for the last 3 mayors and have had the wild fortune of standing shoulder to shoulder with public servants across many agencies. I've seen them give their all. They're committed to doing that now. And I view part of my job is to make sure that they have the support, the resources, and the motivation necessary to keep going.
So do you think that you'll be reviewing hiring practices and people in different jobs and making recommendations to the mayor about that?
Well, the mayor, when my appointment was announced, he also announced that we were going to do a full review, a review of programs, of processes, of personnel, to make sure that we as an administration maintain the strength that is needed to deliver for New Yorkers.
So is this a top to bottom evaluation? I mean, are you looking at every agency? Are you looking at mayoral appointments? Where are you going with this?
Well, it will be comprehensive. And of course, we have to make sure that we're triaging. So we'll make recommendations to the mayor that are timely and are the most urgent issues, again, to ensure that the 300,000 public servants can continue to do their jobs, that New Yorkers see the fruits of that type of labor, and that we're not just trying to deliver basic services, we're actually trying to move the city forward. I mean, when we came into office, Marcia, you might remember, we were dealing with the economic devastation of
Right.
COVID-19.
Yes, absolutely.
And there was also has been a humanitarian migrant crisis. And we've had to deal with budget issues over the past couple of years. And so what we've accomplished in close to 3 years of regaining those jobs, recovering from the pandemic, making strides in childcare and public safety and housing, that can't miss a beat. And so I'm really focused on making sure we keep moving full steam ahead.
So when you talk about the urgent needs that have to be done, what do you describe as the urgent needs, the urgent programs that you want to make sure continue?
So let's talk about housing.
Your favorite topic.
My favorite topic, and it's my favorite not just because the statistics, Marcia, are so sobering, with a 1.4% vacancy rate and 60,000 New Yorkers, mostly women and children, sleeping in shelters, right? It's personal to me as well. I grew up with housing insecurity, so I know the feeling when you're not sure if you're going to make rent, when it matters if government understands those worries and tries to put you on a better path. And so whether it is the City of Yes for housing opportunity, or the historic billions of dollars of resources for our housing agencies, or the transformational work that we're doing at NYCHA, these are the types of actions that we have to take as an administration, because there's too much at stake and too many families, too many New Yorkers who feel that type of insecurity on a day-to-day basis.
Well, when you talk about housing, the one thing I have to ask you about is the Elizabeth Street Garden, the controversy of the people there just resisting the plans that you have to build housing for seniors there. And what they have been doing is they've gone to court to get a court order to stop you. And they also have proposed 2 other locations where you could build property, arguing that green space is certainly as important as housing. So I wonder, like, is there a compromise here, or is it just we have to build on this specific spot?
Well, we have to make sure that we're clear first, Marcia, about the facts. We started this project to build housing here almost a decade ago. What we're trying to do here is 123 units fully affordable for low-income seniors. And a big percentage of the 123 are deeply affordable. And we're going to have green space as well as part of the project. You know, the mayor, I think, said it best. We're not disputing the beauty of the Elizabeth Street Garden, but we have to also think about the beauty that we create when we provide low-income seniors with the type of housing that they need. And so to delay this project, and we're on the cusp of breaking ground on it, for more years of litigation, or to look at alternative sites that, again, would take years and years and years, I think betrays the many seniors who are looking for an affordable home. We have a waiting list for affordable senior housing. You know how big it is? It's about 200,000 people.
Wow.
So I have to answer to those 200,000 New Yorkers who say, we don't have to and we don't want to live this way. Please move forward with the type of project that can house us comfortably and affordably. And that's what we're trying to do here.
But just in the last week, they've gotten yet another court order to stall it. I mean, how long is this going to go on before you could actually break ground?
Well, we are going to keep up the advocacy and ensure that we keep fighting for New Yorkers. It's in many ways, it has the notes of what we're trying to do with the City of Yes for housing opportunity. I don't think anyone can deny that there's a housing crisis in this city, but it's not good enough to say we need more housing, just don't do it in our neighborhood.
We hear it all the time.
Right? And NIMBYism in this city, unfortunately, Marcia, has a little bit of a bipartisan disposition. And if we relent on our efforts to build more housing, all that means is more displacement, rising rents, gentrification. The mayor has been clear from day one that we have to have the political courage as well as the type of incredible technical work that's happening across the agencies to make a dent on this housing crisis. It's really one of our top priorities, and we're not going to stop until we move that needle.
You know, talking about rising rents, there was a study that came out on Friday that said that New York had the largest increase in housing and incidental housing costs of any state in the entire nation. And it said that in the last 4 years, it's gone up, now hold your breath, over $16,000 per household. So how do you deal with that at the same time you're trying to build affordable housing, given the fact that the cost of housing is skyrocketing in the entire city?
That's right. Well, we have to get at the root of the problem. The root of the problem is we don't have enough supply. The fact is we've added hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of jobs in our city, but we haven't built enough housing. It's simply the laws of supply and demand. And so through City of Yes for housing opportunity, building a little bit more housing in every neighborhood, not huge dramatic change to any particular neighborhood, but collectively has us moving the city in the right direction, really key. Then we have to keep up our efforts. We have back-to-back records in terms of financing affordable housing, and we have to make the type of change to a huge source of our affordable housing, which is NYCHA. So it's going to take all of that and continuing to work with our partners at the state level and at the federal level. It's not just a New York problem. It's not just a blue state problem. The housing crisis, it's national, it's deep, it's been unrelenting, but we want to make sure in this administration that we're not accepting that as the only way we can live, because we know there are choices we can make to change the equation.
First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres-Springer, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We are back with a bonus conversation with New York City First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres-Springer. So I wonder, do you consider yourself a risk taker?
I do. I do, in that I have a lot of faith in the people around me whenever I feel like it's a risk that I am taking. But I'd say that there's always a line It's one thing to take risks, which you have to in order to accomplish big things. It's another thing to be reckless, and I try not to be the latter.
So you're not reckless, but you take risks.
Yes, I'd like to think on my best days that's how I am.
So we know that many of the deputy mayors are running in the marathon. You have been training and training and training. I wonder why did you take up running? When did you take it up? And why now are you going to do a marathon?
I've been asking myself that question too, to be honest.
Especially when you get up and it's dark out.
When I have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get my runs in. I've always loved running. I ran my first and only marathon about 23 years ago. And we made the decision as a group, really motivated by the amazing Deputy Mayor Ann Williams-Isom, who I think this will be her 5th marathon, New York City Marathon, wow, to run together. And it's been fantastic for a couple of reasons. One is that it's like forced meditation. And so in jobs that we have that are so stressful, to carve out that time has been incredible. And also, Marathon Day, it's one of my favorite New York City days. I feel like it brings out the best of this city, and it's been on my bucket list to try to accomplish it.
So do you listen to music when you run? Do you like to listen to nature? Do you meditate? Do you talk? What do you do?
I do listen to music. I have a really terrible playlist of songs that my 2 teenage daughters would be really embarrassed to know that I listen to, so don't ask me what the songs are. But I do listen to music, or I use it as an opportunity to just tune out as well.
So what's your breakfast food of choice?
My co-workers make fun of me for this. So
I can't wait to hear this. So
I subsist on coffee, about 4 or 6 cups of coffee a day, but I always get a particular muffin. It's called a morning bun from a local cafe in Lower Manhattan, and I have it every day, and I only eat the top. And depending on the type of day I'm having, if I eat the rest of it, I'm having kind of a bad day. But I'm a creature of habit, so I have to have that.
And what is in this morning muffin thing?
It's pounds and pounds of butter, I'm sure.
Of course.
But whatever it is, it works for me.
Okay. Do you have a green thumb?
I don't. I try, but I find that I always overwater plants, and so I've stuck to herbs, which I feel like are more forgiving.
And you're better at it.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but at least most of them survive.
So what do your children do that makes you crazy?
It both makes me crazy, but it also grounds me. They don't let me dwell in the dramas that might exist at work or outside of the home. I come home and I'm mom to them, and I've raised them in this city. They allow me to use a part of my brain that I really don't use at work, and that is a relief and a blessing, and it drives me crazy.
Do they do anything that makes you smile?
All the time. They're hilarious, and they make fun of me essentially all the time, and they have a lot of fodder, and so those moments are good comic relief.
I'm tempted to ask what they make fun about, but I don't want to embarrass you on TV, so I won't. So what's the best trip you've taken?
My family and we went back to the Philippines actually last summer, and my parents immigrated a year before I was born, and I spent some years there when I was in middle school. But my children, my daughters, had never been, so we took a trip last summer.
Wow.
And it was really incredible because when you're in New York, we have a big family, but this is family that we've chosen, right, in New York, and most of my family's in California, so they got to meet their literally hundreds of cousins.
Wow.
And just feel connected to the story of their family a little bit more intimately.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge you've ever overcome?
The biggest challenge, that's a great question. For professionally, it is in times of crisis, and I've lived through the last 20 years whether it's the rebuilding through 9/11, the Great Recession, Hurricane Sandy, COVID-19.
Lots of crises.
It's finding a way to not just crawl out of the crisis or that challenge, but answering the question, what does it mean for the city to take a great leap forward? And then, from a personal perspective, it is, I grew up like many children of immigrants, humble roots. They scraped everything together and could barely make ends meet. And so to have overcome that and had all of the educational opportunities that I did in the role that I have now is a source of pride for me. But it's also, I think, proven to me that I can be good at my job, not despite all of that, but actually because of it. And so I hope to continue to have that feeling, because I would like to think that that allows me to be a better public servant.
Last question. Name 3 things that you love about New York City.
I do love Marathon Day, and hopefully I'll continue to love it after that.
I'll check in with you.
Okay, all right. Just don't track me. I love bodegas.
Really?
My husband and I always say that we can never live anywhere that's not within like a 3-minute walk of a bodega, because I think it exemplifies all of New York. The third thing I love about New York, and one of my colleagues described it, Mira Joshi, who's amazing, as the spontaneous magic of New York, where you're somewhere, you're in a park, you're on the subway, and you just see people who are just quintessentially New York, or things happen that can only happen in New York. That's what I've always loved, and we hope to continue to nurture that for generations to come.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you at home for joining us as well.